Hello and welcome to episode 35. Today, Joe and I are going to dive into self-esteem. So, yay.
Whoa.
If you don't know what self-esteem is, or just want a further, more technical definition, self-esteem is defined as confidence in one's own worth or ability. So it's like self-respect for yourself. I think there is kind of like a constant struggle when it comes to building like positive self-esteem and positive self-talk within yourself, just kind of like that inner confidence. So this episode, just want to outline some ways to become confident in yourself.
I like that. Um, so I guess the first thing that we could kind of go over with trying to remember our self-worth and appreciating it or accepting it or even faking it till you make it kind of situation.
Literally.
Celebrate your successes and kind of think about all the positive things you have done and try to stay away from letting your mind wander in negative thoughts.
Exactly, because it's so easy to like pick apart those things that you did wrong or your mistakes, and it's hard to recognize, oh shit, I just did this because you're so busy being caught up in picking at yourself. And I feel like we all do this because we're human, right? Like that's just a natural thing to do, but you have to like take time to reflect back and be like, shit, I deserve to be celebrated for what I did. Recognize what your strengths are and kind of play to your strengths and appreciate the value that you bring to your everyday life.
Absolutely. I like that. Um, Especially when you're picking apart all the bad things that you have done or just things that you see negatively, it's important that you recognize that, oh, I am talking bad about myself because the reason why it's important to recognize that is because in the future, you'll recognize it faster and faster as soon as you're like talking bad about yourself. Like, oh, I need to shut up. I'm talking to people don't like me. Like, you don't need to be thinking about that. You just, if they don't like me, they don't like me.
Exactly.
You just be yourself, but appreciate that it's not that you are too much, is that you just haven't found the right people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I think like just when it comes to yourself and kind of celebrating your successes, like Joe outlined, a good idea and a good way for you to do this is literally as simple as planning a little self date or buying yourself flowers to be like, oh shit, like I just, got an A on my homework. I'm gonna go buy myself flowers. Something like that. Kind of play into your personal love languages. I'm not sure if you guys have ever taken that like love language test. I know for me personally, I love to receive gifts and I love like, quality time. So for me, if I was feeling down, but then I'm like, wait, I just, did really good at work today. Take myself on a little self date. I don't know. I'd probably go get like coffee or something and then just kind of sit back and reflect like all the things that I did that were good in the workday. Because of course, like it's good to be self-aware and recognize some of your faults or where you fell short, but you have to take time to recognize what you're doing good and what your strengths are so you can play into that more.
Absolutely. I feel like I would want to insert like a personal example now.
Yes,
So,
let's hear it.
um, so this is really weird to me, I feel, but for me it really works. But it has been raining and storming like crazy where
Oh,
I
damn,
live.
really?
Yeah, and I hate it when I'm outside, of course, but when I'm like inside and even during the day, it's really dark because it's all gloomy outside and rainy. And like just the rain noise and like the storm, the windiness of it all. Like I just love it so much.
Right.
And then like I got my Roku on. It's showing Roku City. So I got like a highlighted room, but it's still dark. And I could just play games all day or read, watch anime, whatever, right? And I'm just absolutely in love with like my lifestyle in this moment. In a way, it's like I feel the most relaxed, and I'm not in any way thinking about, oh, I'm not being productive today, so I need to go do this, this, and this the next day to make up for it. I don't think about that stuff. I just think like it's kind of rare to have those dark and stormy days.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on where you live, of course, but for me, I just really like it.
Shit, that is the coziest weather of all because you're like cuddled up in your bed. It's a peaceful like rainfall sound in the background. It's literally just a free, not infinite, but like 7 hour long rainfall sound on YouTube, but it's actually in real life.
Right. Like I'm not gonna lie, I don't even reach for those YouTube videos. I think I have before, but like they don't suffice.
Yeah, you need the real version.
Exactly.
That's funny. And that's kind of like perfect for kind of celebrating your successes too. It kind of ties back into like you were saying that you're not recognizing your faults that day or your mistakes that you made. You're just taking that time to like release all of that energy and channel in some like peaceful energy and calmness and like that kind of like tranquility, I guess, where you just feel really like at peace and calm. And that's a good time to not even think about your strengths, not even think about your weaknesses, just to be alone and have some time to recharge, not think about anything.
Absolutely. And I think kind of going in with like celebrating your success, it's also a way of taking care of your health, you know, obviously your mental health. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. To boost your self-esteem, and that, like Joe was saying, this is kind of like our second way to help become a little bit more confident in yourself and build a positive self-esteem is to take care of your health. I think there's kind of like a lot of ways that negative self-esteem can come about. So, this can affect your physical state, your mental state, and your emotional state. So, you have to really take time for yourself, your health, not only just physically, but mentally, like we're saying, and like Joe gave a great example of like a peaceful time for her that gives yourself that time to recharge because you have to become in tune with yourself, your needs, desires, and like that's a really good time to do it. And that kind of just ties back into taking care of your health.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest factors in taking care of your health would be to I just lost a word. Hold on. Hold on. It's there. It's
Buffering.
correct. Um oh my goodness.
Uh, I don't want to like spout out random words and lose your train of thought even more, but health, physical, mental, I don't know.
How dare you? I mean my brain, sorry. I'm talking. How dare you? Dude, what? Oh, not feeling remorseful about
Mm.
like the decisions you make throughout any period of time. Like if you have something you regret, just remember like everything happens for a reason and like this is like bettering you for the long run. Or, everything happens for a reason. So if you keep dwelling on it and it's something that you can't control anymore, you shouldn't be like so gloomy about it. Instead,
Yeah.
just move on and work on yourself in a different way, in a positive way, in a way that you're happy. And remember, as me and Mikyla love to say, you're living on a floating rock, like on Earth, and Earth is already a speck in the universe. So literally anything
Literally.
doesn't matter, but at the same time, for as little as we are, it does.
Exactly, because you have to really just sit back and realize that things are kind of coming through you in this world. Like Joe was saying, in the grand scheme of things, is that moment really something that you need to get yourself worked up over? No, it doesn't really matter. Not saying your life doesn't matter, but those little moments that might like tear away at you have to just sit back and realize, of course, easier said than done, that it does not fucking matter. Like, let it go, release that energy that's not really like giving, giving is giving, but just take time to sit back and because mental health is super important. I think that's like a big thing we like to stress on like this podcast. Like you got to take care of yourself and how you feel And I think by putting it in perspective, like, we're here in this world to do kind of whatever. Like, what's our purpose? I don't know. That's the question of the day, right? But you just have to realize, like, damn, if this thing that is affecting my mental health so like badly, and it's just, overtaking your life in just a really negative light, man, chuck that shit to the side. You don't have enough time in this world to be dealing with that bullshit. And let's say it's work. You need a job, you need the money, but your work is so stressful that like it's actually bringing you to a point of a really really bad mental state. Man, go find another job. There's so much out there for you. It's not the end of the world. Just you'll figure it out. Everything will, if you believe and you say it, it'll happen. So I think that's a big thing. Self-talk. We all have inner dialogue, right? We're all talking to ourselves. So it matters how you talk to yourself.
You have an idea. Many different angel and the devil on my shoulder.
Literally. It's
I feel like
it's
I got
funny, but it's true. Huh?
I feel like I have both. Like I have an angel and a devil on my left, and then an angel and a devil on my right. And they're just like, staring at each other, and I'm like by myself trying to figure it out.
You're
Like,
like, shut up.
yeah, why are you guys not helping me?
That's too funny.
I feel
But
like self-esteem isn't just, I feel like it could be defined in like one specific area a lot more than the others, like appearances,
mhm.
but it also could be like your social status, which I know that could be appearance, but I mean like beauty standards.
Yeah,
But your social status, like your wealth, your career, um, where you live, I feel like it all depends on that. And it doesn't make
100%.
it easier with this whole social media aspect of it taking over and basically penetrating like our deepest um minds. I feel like it's so weird. I'm so sorry.
I'm like,
Why did I use that verbiage? I don't know.
honestly, I'm just going with it. It's great. Don't pick yourself apart. It's okay. It was a correct word that you felt fit your description in the moment. It's wonderful. It's very
Just kidding.
I know what you're saying though. I think like social media definitely has a big control over self-esteem nowadays, and it kind of sucks to say, but it is kind of the hard truth, the ugly truth, if you will. So if you're struggling with your mental health, both like physically and mentally, I think it is a good time to disconnect from social media. Just if you're like really, really struggling with that comparison of other people. And we talk about this a lot on episodes, like how you compare to other people, like, beauty standard wise, or how you compare to people like where you are at in life, like, with your jobs or whatnot. I just think because we live in a world where you're able to see everybody's information like all pushed out, it's really, really hard to build a positive self esteem because you got to think like, not saying times were better back then at all because, progressive, but like, if you think kind of like maybe to our parents even growing up without social media like this, like in high school or whatever, they only saw, who they actually physically see in person that day. So if they went to school, they saw their classmates and maybe some like fellow, like, I don't know, athletes if you do sports or whatever, but you're not seeing everybody's information all like we do online. So it's so different because maybe you're used to seeing like 20 people a day without social media, but because we live in this generation in a society where social media is just the norm, we see like thousands of people's lives every day and communicate that way. And it's really tough because that's even more people to compare yourself to, talk to, see, different perspectives. So it can be a struggle. So disconnect from social media.
Definitely. And I feel like, especially younger people, they're trying to figure out who they are, what they like, especially people after high school, because they're not so connected with people they grew up with. They're trying to actually figure out what they like, or who am I? And they're trying to answer that question. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like because of social media, let me give you a few examples. Like, Instagram, TikTok, definitely nowadays.
Yeah.
Pinterest, those are all like influential content. And so when young people are trying to figure out, oh, what do I like? They often reach for their Pinterest app and see what's
What's
popping,
poppin'?
right? What's popping? And they're like, ooh, I like this haircut. Can I pull off a short haircut? I feel like those things can, I think it's like a hit or miss. Sometimes you nail it and you figure out what you really like, but other times people go through phases, especially with trends. Like
Yeah.
you like croquette looking girls, and then e-girls, and then gothic girls, and then preppy girls, sporty girls. There's just so many out there.
Hmm.
And whichever fits that one person, it just takes a long time. And it just sucks that it takes social media for them to figure out who they are. So I feel like since you're on the topic of self-esteem, I think social media can be a good way, but if you know yourself as a person who compares yourself a lot online and you just have a rough time every day in a bad mental thought processing mindset, I don't know if that made sense,
It
but
makes sense.
stray away, okay? And maybe pick out something in real life, like go pick up a book on like a self-help book that's funny and has a lot of bad words in it to make you feel like
Because it's
like
funny.
this is real or this girl is real. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because kind of like you were saying, like there's so many different trends out there, and trends have been going on for century forever, right? Like who's doing what, what's cool. But because of social media nowadays, I feel like we often channel all of our energy into this one thing, and it doesn't fit for us because, we're just, that's not the puzzle piece to fit us, like who we are, how we want to show ourselves. But you give so much of yourself each time you're kind of doing that, trying to figure out where you stand in life and trying to kind of compare yourself to other people, right? Like, oh, these group of girls look super cool because they're dressing like this. I want to try dressing like this. But then you kind of like get in a bad self-esteem state, because you're giving so much energy towards something that's not serving you. But then you just, jump onto the next thing and it's taking a lot more energy. So at the end of the day, you're kind of just sucked, like the energy sucked out of you, and it really sucks. And I think that is kind of the harshest thing from social media. Like there's a lot of good things from social media too, and of course like jobs, right? And like, to be influenced for good and the better and to have platforms to speak on, but you just got to be careful and limit yourself because it really just goes back all into taking care of your health and your mental health and, you know, your emotional health too.
Yeah, and speaking of figuring out who we are and understanding that everybody struggles with self-esteem, I think another way to like combat this struggle is to find your community.
Yes.
Friends who are supportive no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you act. That's the kind of group you need to not really have to think about your self-esteem, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like, we are humans. We need that connection with other people. We need those relationships. You need to foster those relationships with people. Like at the end of the day, that's it. Of course, there's those lone wolves or whatever, like they may be called, like super independent people. But at the end of the day, you do need a sense of community, even if it's like just one friend, even if it's just your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, whatever it may be. Like you just need to build, like Joe said, that supportive community because it uplifts yourself too, just like you can uplift them. It's kind of like not like a give and take situation, but it's just you want to be with people who are going to push you to be the best, but also give you that safe and comforting space, and you can be that for them as well because that's who we are. That's what we need, like by our nature, really.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I forget that sometimes, even myself. I know I'm like talking about this issue, but like if I really had to narrow it down, to like the group of people I have, it'd be Mikyla, obviously, my coworker, and my boyfriend. Three, one, two, three people who
Yeah,
I can literally be myself and not feel like a burden or like an annoyance. So you can do it, guys. It could only take even just one person to really change your whole attitude in life.
for sure.
So, and don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, we got a lot of social media for that too.
Honestly.
I mean, it could even be on Discord, I know a lot of people have friends that way. Yeah.
True. Yeah, honestly, like it's important to find people, but it's also important to remind yourself like don't force it. If it's not clicking, you don't feel right, you feel like it's draining you. Like, okay, oh well, like that relationship didn't work out. And it's not to say it couldn't work out in the future and not to like put forth effort to make it work, but if it really is just draining you and it's not what you need and it's not serving you, don't go for it because you don't need a bunch of friends to feel that energy, like Joe was saying, like you gotta have three good homies and you're set for life.
Mhm.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just need at least a person to be almost exactly the same as you in terms of you guys click very well and y'all have a blast all the time. But without them, you still feel confident, and they are the one person that makes you remember, even with or without them, you have become a better person, or you have become a person who is more confident. Um, you have recognized your self-worth because your friend has allowed you to see what you are worth of. But of
Exactly.
course, that is if they are a good friend and not a crappy friend.
Yeah, because there's some bitches out there who's gonna make your self-esteem plummet. Their whole purpose of being your friend is to just use you and make you feel just bad inside and you feel constantly compared. So if you have one of those friends, cut that bitch out, bro. It's not worth your time. You can't change people. It's not worth
Yeah, I feel
it.
it's very rare to have like girlfriend relationships that last more than 3 years. It depends. You know what I mean? A
Yeah,
lot
I
of,
have heard that before because some people view it as like just a battle, like a competition instead of a friendship. I don't think that's all women, of course. Like that's anybody. There's always going to be those people who are just very competitive in everything in life and it's low-key toxic. So, you don't have enough time in this life to deal with toxic ass people.
yeah. And I don't mean to say like all women.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just know women as I am a woman myself, and I have been through friendships before, or I have been the problem in friendships before, but I was a kid. I'm grown up now, we all gotta grow up. So I feel
Exactly.
that those past relationships or friendships, whatever, have made me recognize patterns in my new relationships as I am an adult. And I'm like, whoa, red flag,
Exactly.
orange flag, caution.
Beige flag. I'm dead.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's next?
So I guess kind of the last thing to wrap up our self-esteem episode, a good way, because we talked about celebrating your successes, taking care of your health, building a good community. The last thing I would like to touch on is embracing your failure or imperfections. And my little note that I put to the side, I said, while this sounds like an Ed Sheeran song, it's true to embrace your failures and turn it into life lessons. Not to get too cheesy on you guys. I just think like a lot of the times you have to like embrace your imperfections. I know that sounds so like garbage, foo-foo, Pinterest quote message, but it's true. Like, to get a little personal, um, I struggle a lot. Like my self-esteem issues for me just kind of comes down to my appearance. I feel like ever since I was a kid, I've often found myself struggling with that comparison because we grew up in kind of like, well, I grew up in Washington State And then we moved to Alabama, and that's a very different in terms of diversity. So I found myself just kind of like wishing I was white, wishing I had those more like features of a white girl. I'm like, damn, I look completely different than these girls out here. Not saying anybody's less beautiful or not. It's just that's something I feel like I've struggled with internally for years, just wanting to look a certain way. And working on that a lot more now and trying to do positive self-talk and realize like shit, I love embracing like how I look, being Korean, being Korean woman. It's awesome because you have to embrace those differences. Not saying it's an imperfection. You just have to realize like just because you're different doesn't make you any less beautiful. And you have to realize that. And it's a hard thing to realize. And maybe some of you guys are struggling with it, but you'll get like eventually it'll happen and you'll find that self-confidence.
That's good insight. I think we should also do a podcast episode on that topic
I would love that. I would love
because I have me and you both
that.
have struggled
Right?
with that terms. And I think as bad as it is, not to like hate on guys, but they're mainly the reason why I feel I wanted to be white growing up because whenever I had crushes and I'd be the bold one and be like, I kind of like you. And they would tell me, sorry, you're not my type. And I'm like, okay, what is your type? And they'd be like, blonde, white, not your eyes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
no.
hard because that male validation, I feel like is something I definitely craved back then. I'm like, and like you were saying, I built a lot of my standards based off of men's standards in that area that we were living, or not men, boys standards. So I feel you. We definitely got to do an episode about that because it's important because that really like affects your self-esteem and the way you perceive yourself because you're viewing the way like you're perceiving yourself based on other people's perceptions and that is not okay.
Especially as a little girl.
Yeah, that shit hurts.
Yeah, and it sticks with you even when you're an adult until there is a MAN to help heal your broken heart from years and years ago.
Yeah, everybody can find that person that will help because, it just stems back to community. If you find a good supportive group, whoever, whatever they may be, like it's important. So, I don't know. Self-esteem matters. Definitely start small and start with positive small talk. I hope you guys, enjoy some of these tips we gave. I think a lot of our concepts kind of just like tie into one thing. I feel like we're constantly saying take a break from social media, talk positive to yourself and be a bad bitch.
Yeah, I do agree that we do repeat ourselves a lot, but I feel like we need to yell at you guys. Like,
Exactly. We're trying to drill it in.
but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Um, a standing ovation slash applause to Mikyla.
Oh my
I
goodness.
I just wanted to.
I'm gonna cry. I'm just kidding. Oh, thank you, thank you. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed. Love you. And see you guys next week.
See ya. Now we're gonna go play Sims 4. Haha, the